Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Mark Opperman. I'm the owner of the Tea Clinic. I have been a medical practitioner for the past 22 years, and I specialize in functional medicine as well as anti-aging medicine. A couple of years ago, I started noticing that the majority of my patients started complaining not only about how they look, but more so about how they're feeling. Just they're not performing that well. As someone who has a keen interest in hormones and hormone balancing from my background in obstetrics and gynecology, I started looking at this, and we came about opening the Tea Clinic a couple of years ago. The reason for you being here, for those who've been through the practice and who I know personally, this is just a thank you. Thank you for supporting me and my team through the past couple of years. It's so special to see you all here. I have patients sitting in front of me who I've known for more than 12 and 14 years. So to you who stuck with us, who trusted us, to not only look after your physical well-being, but also your mental and hormonal well-being. For the ladies that we have not yet met, your friends obviously had some reason why they invited you. You have to ask them why. We'll explore that in a little while. So we're going to talk about the symphony of hormones. And I want you to listen to this piece of music quickly. I think all of us recognize that piece of music. Actually, the sounds that we just listened to is the discord of hormone imbalance. We have over 50 hormones in the body. Each of them represents an instrument in an orchestra. If one of them is out of tune or plays out of sync with the other hormones, it creates that horrible sound. And the experience of the symphony becomes less than appealing. For us, changes in hormones start so insidiously, so subtly, that we do not recognize them. To understand what hormones do, we actually need to know what they are. Hormones are chemical messengers, and they're secreted by specialized tissue, and then they circulate in our bloodstream and bind to receptors somewhere else. Most of our hormones require cofactors like vitamins, minerals, or trace elements to be effective. If we think of our thyroid hormone, thyroid requires both vitamin D as well as iron to be effective. So I want us to start by being a little bit interactive. Who of you are currently on hormone replacement therapy? Raise your hands. Keep them up. Who of you are currently taking thyroid medication? Keep your hands up. Who of you are taking something like melatonin? If you had your hands up, keep them up, please, so don't take them down. Who of you have had something like glucophage for insulin resistance? Keep the hands up. And now, think of what we've done during COVID. Who of you have taken vitamin D or is taking vitamin D? So ladies, look around you. All of you are taking hormone replacement therapy. Vitamin D is a hormone. So is DHEA. And if we take something like glucophage or insulin, we are busy with hormone replacement therapy. There's a wonderful, wonderful prize here at the end that's been sponsored by my good friend Victoria Wagner from Evolution Cosmetics. But to win the prize, you have to answer a couple of questions at the end. So to explain to you just how intricate hormone cascades are, you need to follow the following. Okay? Remember, there's a prize. I think for most of us that when we think of hormones, we think estrogen, am I right? Menopause, hot flushes. So let's look at the hormone cascade of estrogen. The synthesis of estrogen is started in the brain, and then it stimulates a part of the brain called the hypothalamus to release something called gonadal hormone releasing hormone. And that then goes and it stimulates the pituitary gland to release HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. That stimulates the pituitary gland again to release two other hormones, follicle-stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. Now, follicle-stimulating hormone is responsible for ovulation, and luteinizing hormone is responsible for the production of testosterone. If you didn't know this, you make 4 times more testosterone in your ovaries than you make estrogen. Testosterone then converts into estrogen. So that's how we get to estrogen. In this cascade, to get to estrogen, we have 6 other hormones that plays a role. So I'm going to stand still with 2 of them. Testosterone, because when you hear testosterone, I think you think muscles and men, am I correct? So if you do not have adequate levels of testosterone, you can't make estrogen. But testosterone is responsible for so much more. It's responsible for bone density. It's responsible for muscle density and muscle mass and lean muscle mass. It works on our glucose metabolism and it works on our lipid metabolism. Testosterone binds to receptors in the brain and they release dopamine, which is a neurotransmitter. Dopamine is responsible for communication between the individual nerves, and that makes it responsible for communication between different parts of the brain. It's also responsible for healing and repairing damaged nerve tissue. So if we look at one of the autoimmune diseases called Parkinson's disease, that's decreased dopamine levels. So testosterone protects us against Parkinson's. The other thing that testosterone is responsible for is it protects us against cardiovascular disease. To circle back to dopamine, all of us know that when you take that little piece of chocolate and you have your first piece of chocolate, you crave the next one. Dopamine is responsible for reward, motivation, and repetitive behavior. So when we get into the menopausal period and you start feeling demotivated, tired, it's because the testosterone decreases. Dopamine is also responsible for stimulating serotonin. Now, serotonin comes from your gut. 90% of testosterone is synthesized in the gut. And serotonin helps with depression and anxiety. For those of us who know anything about neurobiology, is when we have a patient with symptoms of depression and anxiety, we look at their thyroid hormones as well as testosterone, Because if they don't have optimal levels of testosterone, they're not making enough serotonin. Think about the symptoms that you are going through, that emotional ability, starting to become angry and irritable. So let's move back to estrogen. So testosterone converts into estrogen through a process called aromatization. And estrogen then circulates throughout the body. It's responsible for our menstrual cycle. It's responsible for maintaining a healthy pregnancy. But more so, estrogen binds to receptors in the brain, and the highest concentration of estrogen receptors in the brain is situated in the areas that's responsible for memory and learning. So that brain fog that you get, the forgetting things, comes from decreased estrogen in the brain. Estrogen is anti-inflammatory. When we look at women that goes into menopause, they have a far higher incidence of autoimmune diseases if they are not hormonally balanced. If we look at the chronic pain conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, multiple sclerosis, lupus, these are all associated with low levels of estrogen. Our Korean friends have done phenomenal work on showing that if we take patients with rheumatoid arthritis and we take x-rays of the joints, we can see the damage that's happening there. When we start these patients on hormone replacement therapy that contains estrogen, the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis starts elevating, they feel better, but more so, there's actually a regeneration of the cartilage in the joints. So for women that have chronic pain, shoulder pain, one of the most insidious kind of symptoms is jaw pain. If you have pain in your jaw, it can be because of low estrogen. Shoulder pain, frozen shoulder, is well described. Menopause is associated with frozen shoulder. Estrogen works on pain. It modulates pain as well. So let's move on a little bit. Let's look at the symptoms and signs of hormone imbalance. Think about this. How many of you can say, I love my husband, but I can't stand him? So, one of the first signs of hormone imbalance is a decrease in sex drive and libido. Now, I want to just stand still and explain to you what they are. Libido is sexual thoughts and fantasies. It's how often we think about sex or how vividly we used to think about sex. Sex drive, on the other hand, is the frequency with which we want to initiate or engage in sexual activity. That creates a psychological decline in patients, and often, because of that, a sexual disconnect in relationships. The physical aspects of sexual decline, like I'm not lubricating as well as I used to, and now it's becoming a little bit painful. We move on to the mood disorders. Honey, there's no cremora on the refrigerator. It's not inside. Fuck off. So that happens. Think about how many of you become snappy and irritable. Depression, anxiety, some of the first signs. Cognitive decline. I said to you earlier that estrogen is associated with the areas in the brain that's responsible for memory and learning. That sense of brain fog when you go to Pick and Pay and you're supposed to buy bread, eggs, milk and toothpaste, and you come home with everything but the milk. it's quite frustrating. Forgetting people's names. You know what, I have Alice, so I'm very lucky for that. Fatigue, energy levels that decline are some of the first symptoms. But they can be because of so many other things. An inactive thyroid. Pain. We spoke about how estrogen combats pain, but I want to tell you a little bit about testosterone and pain. Testosterone decreases because of disease processes like rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. So we have a decrease in the testosterone levels. Now we take medication for them, anti-inflammatories, but specifically anything that contains opioids, codeine, Tramadol, Promacec, Pethidine. They downregulate not only the testosterone, but the receptors to which testosterone, as well as the medication, binds. So pain conditions decrease effectively the effectivity of the medication that you take for pain because of the medication that you take for pain. So it's so interlinked with one another. Sleep. How many of you wake up refreshed in the morning? Okay. A lot of us do not. How many of us snore? Okay. If you've answered, I do not wake up refreshed, I do snore, you have a problem. We need to look at this because declined levels of oxygen in the brain is associated with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, etc., etc. Hot flushes and night sweats. I think anyone that goes through menopause start battling with them. I remember Elise coming into my office, fresh as a daisy, and suddenly she starts doing a striptease without music. I stopped her. I do it at sexual harassment. So the impact that hormone imbalances has on our quality of life, our well-being, both mental and physical, is far-reaching. There's different ways of treating this. We have the ones that I think most of you know of, estrogen tablets, estrogen patches. But today we have so much more. We have transdermal preparations, creams that we can put on. We have mucosal preparations. In other words, we can use intravaginal estrogen and progesterone. We have injectables and we even have implants. I think one of the questions that immediately comes to your mind is this safe? I want to give you the following statistic. The World Health Organization, the Menopausal Society, the International Menopausal Society, as well as the North American Menopausal Society, published a statement in July of this year, and the statement says the following: hormone replacement therapy will not give women a diagnosis of cancer. Not breast cancer, not ovarian cancer, not endometrial cancer, colorectal cancer, or lung cancer. The best way to treat menopause and the symptoms of menopause is taking hormone replacement therapy. To put it into perspective, if we look at 1,000 women who's never had any form of hormone exposure, in other words, they didn't take contraceptives and they're not on hormone replacement therapy, 13 out of those 1,000 women will have a diagnosis of cancer, one of the 5 that we've mentioned. Now, if we look at women who are on hormone replacement therapy, that number drops to 6.3. Hormone optimization protects us from cancer, but we need to understand what it is that we're taking. The risk of not treating hormone levels is far-reaching. Women have a 4 times higher incidence of Alzheimer's disease if they are not taking hormone replacement therapy. If we look at newly diagnosed type 2 diabetics, the incidence of women who will be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes who are not on hormone replacement therapy is 20% higher. Osteoporosis. 1 in 9 women will die from cardiovascular disease, either in the form of a heart attack or a stroke. Estrogen, as well as testosterone, protects us against those diseases. For women who think deep vein thrombosis or pulmonary embolism, transdermal or intravaginal forms of hormone replacement therapy decrease your risk of having a DVT. In my practice, when I talk to my patients, we always talk about compliance versus adherence. Compliance is when you merely take medication that the doctor prescribed to you. Here's your prescription, I'll see you in 6 months' time for a refill. That's being compliant. In my practice, we demand adherence, and this is where the difference comes in. When you adhere to a treatment protocol, it means that you are involved in the design of the protocol. You need to understand the disease process. You need to know the risk. You need to understand the benefit of treating. You need to understand the risk of comorbidities should you decide not to treat. If there's one thing that I want to leave you guys with today, is you are paying for a consultation with a professional. Demand the answers that you need in order to make an informed decision. If you do not understand the disease or the process or the treatment, sit until you do. And if you don't get the answers, you are not in the right place. Marina, I want to thank you for allowing us this beautiful venue. I am quickly going to introduce a dear colleague of mine, Victoria Wagner. Victoria's from Evolution Cosmetics. You guys had some sample packs, that's for collagen. And Victoria's quickly going to tell us about that. And then I will field some questions and answers.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are the distributors for 3 cosmeceutical skincare brands and also a collagen supplementation range called Gold Collagen. So I don't know if any of you have heard of that.
Most of them tasted it.
So it's basically a range of liquid collagen supplements. So there is something for everyone. It is clinically trialed. It's actually manufactured in Japan. It tastes amazing, which I think is something really nice. It contains no additional sugar. What's very nice is that there is something for literally every person. So we have multi-dose, which contains hydrolyzed collagen. So hydrolyzed collagen basically is absorbed extremely well in the human body. And it's also combined with 11 vitamins and minerals, and also something called black pepperine. So black pepperine enables you to absorb the collagen very, very well. also have a 40 plus version. So this version contains then 15 vitamins and minerals. So it is specifically designed for a slightly more mature person. And then we have hair lift. So this is quite unique to our range. So it contains not only the hydrolyzed collagen, but biotin and hydrolyzed keratin as well. So hydrolyzed keratin is great for hair loss. And just as Mark's talking about, that is something that obviously is a symptom of menopause. So a very important supplementation, and I myself have discovered with my own hair, my hair would never grow, and I've been taking it now for about 9-10 months. We've seen a huge, huge difference. There's also a vegan option, so I think that's quite important. It's often not something that's for vegans, so we have something that our collagen, our hydrolyzed collagen is a marine-derived version, so obviously that is not suitable for vegans. So they have developed a specific vegan collagen that is for that is a rice peptide that is combined with 24 vitamins and minerals. So this is great for anyone with a vegan diet. Are there any vegans here?
Teresa.
Great. Okay. So you know that obviously in your diet it's quite hard to get all the supplementation that you require. So these 24 vitamins and minerals help to assist to supplement your diet. And then there's also something called Defense. So Defense is an antioxidant formulation which is there to protect. So it's a lovely addition really to your supplementation, which is going to give you great energy. So you have tried this today and it's available at Mark's practice.
Thank you.
And then we also wanted to speak a little bit about skincare. So obviously if you're treating your hair, skin and nails with the supplementation, it's also very important to use a good quality skincare. So DermaQuest, which is a brand that's available at Mark's practice, is a cosmeceutical brand that we bring in from California. It's a beautiful brand with about 8 collections, and each collection is specifically formulated to treat a specific concern. So everything from obviously age-related concerns, pigmentation, acne, sensitized skin conditions. So we really have something for everybody. And we also have a range of 10 peels. So these peels will treat every skin concern. So we have light, beautiful peels right up to medium depth peels where you will actually shed for 4 to 5 days. So transformative treatments. So there are some samples for all of you.
Yes, and we brought some testers.
Yes, we did. So you'll be able to have a skin consult with one of our ladies, Elizabeth and Zendile, and you can ask your specific skin concerns to them directly.
Thank you. Ladies, I can assure you that it works. I'm 72 years old, and I've been using Victoria's products for probably 40. So, okay. I think everyone has had breakfast. Are there any questions? Is there anything that we can answer? Oh my God, I bored you.
I wanted to ask about hormone replacement if you've had cancer.
Okay. Miranda, that's a wonderful, wonderful question to ask. In the statement that was released, it was very clear that for women who have a strong family history of breast cancer, even for women who had breast cancer, and even a genetic disposition to cancer, the BRCA1 gene, vaginal application of estrogen only lowers the risk of cancer. So this is new. This is something that we didn't know. To tell you about the study that was conducted was called the Women's Health Initiative Study. And it ran for many years. The study was initiated in 2001. And it ran for 18 years. It concluded in 2019. More than 7 million women was enrolled in the study. Now, the history that we have that hormones causes cancer was because the preliminary results of the study was published in 2004, and it was misconstrued firstly by the media and then by medical practitioners. Back then, the study showed, or initial results showed, there is an increased incidence in cancer, but number one, the diagnosis was made much sooner. Think about it. If you're looking for something, you're going to find it more quickly and more often. Two, the cancer was better differentiated, and one of my dear colleagues, Dr. Vivian Jandera, can tell us more about that. Better the cancer is differentiated, the more closely it resembles normal tissue, which means that the diagnosis is better. And the cancer responded far better to treatment. So that was in 2004. But the stigma around hormone replacement therapy stayed. And we've been seeing changes in statements that's been made. And in 2017, a statement paper by the menopausal societies came out and they said, you know what, it remains to be seen. And finally, in 2019, when the study concluded and we looked at the results, the final results showed that hormone replacement therapy is beneficial. It protects against all the above cancers, the 5 topmost cancers in the world amongst women, and can be, in certain instances, be used for women who had cancer or who has a family history of cancer. Anything else?
I think I have 2 questions if I can do it. So as you grow older, your ovaries continue to produce hormones, no matter how old you are. That was the first question. And the second question is, if you've had your ovaries removed, does that affect the dosage of HRT that you need to take?
It's a great question. To ask the first one, does your ovaries continue to produce hormones? Ovaries produce, as I said, predominantly testosterone, which then aromatases into estrogen. The estrogen circulates and it then metabolizes into other estrogen hormones like estriol and estrone, and that happens in your gut. There's a condition called ovarian insufficiency, and that's literally when the ovaries shut down. So eventually they will stop working. So yes, they kick here and there, and this we find specifically during that perimenopausal period. The perimenopausal period is that period from about 43 until about 50, 53. It's probably the most difficult period in a woman's life, because you go to the doctor and he tests your hormones and they come back and it's normal. And yet you feel something is wrong. Day after day I have people coming into my office saying to me, I've been to my GP, and then I went to my gynae, and then I went to my endocrinologist, and then I went to the rheumatologist, and no one is helping me. I've been put on hormone replacement therapy, it doesn't work, so I've stopped it. So to answer your second question, hormone replacement therapy is like baking a cake. I can tell you that if I start changing one of the ingredients in the beautiful croissants that we had this morning, either the quantity, the quality, the process. In other words, I cream the eggs with the butter instead of the eggs with the sugar, that croissant does not taste the same. And when we start with hormone treatment, we bring about change, and every person reacts differently. There's no cookie cutter recipe for hormone replacement, and this is what has been done traditionally. You go to the GP or you go to your gynae, he sees that your hormones are low, and he prescribed you hormone replacement, usually in the form of estrogen or estrogen and progesterone. That's not good enough. I've changed the ingredients in the cake. The problem is the one that's baking the cake, the prescriber, doesn't get to taste the cake. So when I talk about adherence, you need to be involved. In our practice, we see our patients on a weekly basis when we initiate treatment. Why? Because we bring about change that changes things in them. And this can be good or bad. The experience of this can be good or bad. It's very, very difficult to do because it's not only estrogen that's involved. Remember the quiz? Tick, 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 6 other hormones, and that's without any of the cofactors. Hormones don't work without optimal nutritional balance. And this doesn't mean healthy diet. It means vitamin D, iron, cofactors, zinc, selenium, copper. It's very difficult work, and therefore we demand that our patients are involved in the process because things change. It's like me giving you the best car that's set up to drive on a beautiful sunny day. We've taken the roof off, and suddenly it starts raining. Your experience of that car is going to be something that's not pleasant. And that's important to understand. Anything else?
She had another question.
We've answered 2. Oh, if you don't have ovaries, if we've removed your ovaries, does it change the amount of hormone replacement that we need to give you? No. Again, it's bespoke. We treat with hormones until we find optimal balance and relief of symptoms. And this brings us back to the safety part. We always strive to give the lowest dose that's effective, but that lowest dose is different from you and your twin sister. So, you know, it's very, very tricky. It's a very delicate balance and dance. And therefore we call it the harmony and the symphony of hormones. Anything else?
Does alcohol play a role in
No, but let's go back to safety. Okay, so Lauren asked whether alcohol plays a role in hormone imbalance. No, but it changes risk. So to explain what risk is, every one of us have the risk of being in an accident walking across the road. If the conditions change, in other words, it's dark, there's no light, the road gets busier, our risk increases, but it doesn't mean that we're going to be in an accident. Safety of hormone replacement therapy is quite interesting. You have a higher risk of developing breast cancer if you're taking 2 units of alcohol a day than if you take hormone replacement therapy. So, Lauren, no, it doesn't play a role. So think about that. If you drink a glass of wine a day, your risk is as high as taking hormone replacement therapy. If you take 2 glasses of wine, your risk for cancer is higher. Any other questions? Okay. Now,
does hormone replacement therapy cause uncontrollable weight gain?
the simple answer to that is no. Body changes starts happening because of a dysregulation of our lipid metabolism. So cholesterol, our sugar metabolism, insulin, ghrelin, which makes us feel satiated. It's a hormone that's released from the stomach, and it tells the brain, but I had enough to eat. Earlier we said that testosterone plays a role in glucose metabolism as well as in our lipid metabolism. But women are far more prone to having autoimmune diseases that involve the thyroid gland. So to explain what the thyroid does, the thyroid is responsible for our energy metabolism. And I said to you right at the beginning of a talk that for our thyroid hormone to be effective, and actually when we talk about thyroid hormone, we talk about 4 of them, T1, T2, T3, T4. For all of them to be active, to activate energy metabolism, they have to bind to receptors. And those receptors are made up of vitamin D as well as of iron. So if I have an imbalance in iron and vitamin D, my thyroid is not going to work. So what we start seeing in menopausal women is changes in body composition. So everything moves to the center, to the hips and the abdomen. And we call it that middle age spread. So there's various things that are involved. Hormone optimization does not cause weight gain. Actually, I want to ask our patients who is on hormone optimization, did you guys see any weight gain, rapid weight gain, or irreversible? And you said no. Bev, you say no. Miranda? No. Okay, so no, hormone imbalances causes weight gain. It's one of the first signs that there's a problem is weight gain. Okay. Thank you for all your love and support over the years. We appreciate everything. And for the women who don't know us, I hope that you took something away that will give you the opportunity to just go and think about your well-being, your quality of life. Dante, I want to leave you with what we manage and what our aim is at my clinic. If we create balance in our hormone systems, this is the piece of music that you can look forward to. I thank you.